Join me as I take this concept and turn it into this sculpt today on Ninja Pixel. What's up? My name is Chris and welcome to another episode of Ninja Pixel. Today I'm going to be sculpting an orc warrior in Blender. If you have interest in any of Blender's sculpting features, this one is for you. Additionally, if you find low-level comedy or peak-level awkwardness amusing, this one has something for you too, so stick around.
Your call is very important to us. Please hold.
No. Wait a second. Yes.
Your call cannot be completed as dialed. Check the number and dial again.
Alright, so I've imported Grubthok Fizzlebone, or whatever the fuck I'm calling him. And here you can see I'm just pushing around some clay, giving him big muscles. Now the first thing about, adding big muscles and understanding big muscles is to have big muscles. So adding various forms here, working on these forearms, these ridiculously bulbous forearms. Oh, giving him fingers. They look a little strange. We'll get them there though. It's all about finding some good reference. These muscles are looking sweet. Look at this. I stood in a mirror and looked at myself a great deal to achieve this. Lats and backs, baby. Or back with lats. Lats of backs. We're working on the back muscles. Got to get the pecs right. He's got, what is that? He's got an 8-pack. Cool. Grubthok gets after it. You guys don't even know. So anyways, on to something relatively educational. Basically I'm starting with a sphere and pushing that around a lot. I just achieved the major forms of the torso. I kept the arms separate. I've got this big grand plan on being able to assemble this thoughtfully. We'll see how well that works out. That'll probably fail miserably. More to come on that. I don't know why I'm doing half of this detail of the muscles. I mean, so much of this is going to be covered up with armor anyways. But, it's all for, poops and giggles, as they say. Okay, now apparently I'm adding, I'm putting some slacks. I'm putting slacks on. Whoa, okay, legs. Sweet. These are legs. He's got these sort of rad boots on with like this like sheep fur. He's got a cool skull. Grubthok is a warrior of great note, and he sort of collects his trophies. Most of this is sort of repeating the same methodology over and over again. I'm grabbing a sphere many times and I'm pulling it to what I need to be. A lot of times I might be getting the basic shape achieved polygonally with quads, and then when I've got something that's relatively the correct shape, that's when I'll use the remesh modifier, and I'll usually take it down to a voxel level of like 0.2 or 0.1. I think that's right. It might be 0.02 and 0.01. Play around with it. Just adding some stitching back to his pants. And you can see like this level of detail, it's still pixelated, but I'm encouraged by many different parties to get as much detail with less voxels earlier on before I up the voxel level. He's got all these like leather straps that go around the diameter of his legs. One cool feature here, so those were cylinders that I edited and sort of pushed them into place around the shape of his legs, but what really stood out here was using the, I can't fucking talk, What really stood out here was using the shrink wrap feature to perfectly wrap the straps around the shape of his legs, and then I can add a solidify modifier to give them some thickness, and I just got a lot farther doing that than trying to manually have these wrap around his legs. These straps are a little ridiculous. This feels like something I would have done in like 7th or 8th grade, you know, like in my Hot Topic years, you know, maybe wearing some Jinkos, and it's like, why not just put some straps on your pants? And, you know, I've got a sweet chain wallet and I'm looking pretty badass. All the girls are noticing, you know, I'm really making big fashion statements. So as you can see, using the solidify modifier, adding some thickness to the straps. He's got like armor plates on his feet, you know. Do you hate it when you stub your toe? I do. Wear armor plates on your feet. More armor. I hate it when I bust my shins. I might actually start to make these myself and wear these to work. Can't have enough armor. What's actually great about this is a lot of these pieces I'm going to be able to put into my own asset library and use them on future models. So that's rad. That'll save me a lot of time going forward. So the shoes are starting to look like something. The boots, the footwear coming in with the drawing brush and just starting to add some creases around the edges of the straps. Just to give them sort of a stitched and leather-bound look. And you'll notice if you do compare this to the concept that we took out of Dolly, I'm not going one for one here. I'm going really, really close, but I also don't want to go back and forth looking at my reference constantly. I'm going for the gist of that concept and then embedding my own sort of look on it as I go, for better or worse. Probably worse, okay? Imported a picture of myself, clearly. Yeah, we got Bulkman Jesus to the left here, looking swole, you know, and why not? Why not? You know, he looks juicy. Let's go for it. Giving him some knee pads. Do you hate it when you bust your knees? Well, wait. Let's move on. So just using the transform tool, you know, give these a little bit of uniqueness as they go up his leg. So as you can see on the shoulder pad here, I'm first making a primitive and then getting as much of the shape of it done in quads as I possibly can before I convert it to voxels, adding some wicked spikes. Also, you know, very, you know, circa like 1999, my Hot Topic years, I probably had some spikes on. I know I had some spikes on. I know I had a spike bracelet. And, you know, I might get another one. Making some sweet gauntlets. Same process. Let's do it first with a primitive and sort of get things right in quads. All right, loincloth. He's got pants on, but he's also got this like loincloth on, you know. He's probably got just a massive package. You don't want that swinging around during the heat of battle. So on these little dangly hangies, that's an industry term, I'm using the clay strips brush to sort of give them the leather strap look, and then I'm running the inflate tool on them, holding control to thin them up. All right, now I'm adding his hair. Again, starting with a sphere and then going in with the draw tool or perhaps the sharp crease tool to give it that streak sort of hair look. So coming in again with the sphere and just sort of conforming that around his shoulders and his back, and then using the draw tool again to add some shape and lines to it. Look at those beautiful flowing locks. Reminds me of myself in 7th or 8th grade at Hot Topic. Checking how sweet he looks. It looks pretty sweet. All right, we're going in for this belt some more. So part of the shape of that belt I did by adding creases to it and then applying a sub D modifier so that certain edges would be sharp and certain edges would be not. Applying that sub D modifier and then going back and using the remesh modifier to make it voxels. One of the cool ways that I'm doing the detail on the belt itself is by using the mask tool and then using the plateau brush to only bring up and extrude to exact heights. And really sort of struggling with bending up the end of these shoulder pads. I remember this sucking so much as I did it. Yeah, I eventually choose to try to get them all in the same axis space, so selecting all the vertices at the end, and then I think it was SX0, which will bring all the vertices to the same position in the x-axis, and then deleting those out, selecting all of the edges, and filling it as a face. So again, using that plateau tool, just making a mask, and then for the areas that I want raised or I want depressed, hold control, don't hold control, but it does it uniformly. It does it to a specific height and won't go any deeper or higher for that first brush pass. Yep, same thing here, using that plateau brush, as you can see, keeps a consistent height. Super helpful when you're trying to do layers of armor or layers of anything really. Coming back with the draw tool and the sharp crease tool to add some damage and wear, some gouges and chinks in his armor, so to speak. Okay, here we go again, masking off an area that I want raised and using the plateau tool. So if you look at the concept, some of these armor, some of these shoulder pads look like they're made out of bone, so I came in and added some sort of fibrous looking, wood looking, boneness looking detail to the edges of them. So doing a bit of a rework to the pose itself. Again, I'm keeping everything symmetrical still, but just using the pose tool to make that symmetrical pose even a little bit cooler than it was looking, pretty static as it was. So coming back in a bit now that I've reposed him, and I'm having to readjust all the placement of the leg straps and the gauntlets and so on and so forth, but it'll be worth it. Part of the work in doing that is going to the individual object and deleting the mirror modifier, Control A to reset all its transforms, and then mirroring or just copying over with hard ops the using the symmetry feature. Coming back in, adding more detail, working on the axe. All right, here we go. So again, trying to do as much of this as I can with the primitive, with quads, just moving edges and vertices around before I go into voxels. So making the basic shapes, the cylinder, the axe head itself, and then the sphere at the end. And then eventually I'm going to take all these and boolean them together and create a remesh from that. Same way that I did the dangly hangies on his loincloth is the same way I'm treating the handle on the axe, using the clay strips brush and symmetry to add the sort of wrapped leather look. I want to take a moment to touch on a few sections in more detail. The first one is posing the model. I start by going to ChatGPT to generate some Orky type images. However, I make the mistake of submitting my prompt to ChatGPT's O3 Mini AI, which only works in ASCII. Needless to say, I didn't get what I wanted and am honestly a little traumatized. After switching over to their 4.0 engine, I start to get the results I'm looking for. I have to prompt it a few times before it delivers a pose that is both dynamic and aggressive enough for what I was looking for. Back in Blender, I start by trying to pose with the pose tool Sculpt mode offers, but it simply cannot do what I need. While great for minor adjustments to poses that are already on their way, it's great, but simply lack the kinematics that a rigged armature would provide. Again, with ChatGPT by my side, I dive into rigging my character, which actually was a relatively painless endeavor. The great thing here is the automatic weights feature when parenting the rig to the model. It provides very lifelike kinematics without the need to go into weight painting. Another area of focus are the hands, which artists often struggle with, myself certainly included. What I'll say is this: those years of figure drawing in art school, even though I was a design major, have certainly paid off. More and more I'm realizing a key to being a good sculptor is knowing how to draw. The answer here is to draw more hands. While that might not be the quick hack some are looking for, it's the best bang for your buck method to quickly see improvement in your ability, 2D or 3D. I'd be remiss not to mention how much the armature help with these as well. As far as I got in pure sculpting, the rig really helped get the hands where they need to be, and any further detail can be added in Sculpt. If I had to name the top 3 sculpting brushes I use, it would be the Grab, Inflate, and Clay tool, and in that order. And that was no different when coming back in to define the facial expression and details. I'm learning that so much of this is about pushing imperfect digital clay to where it needs to be, versus hoping to skillfully do it right the first pass. At least that's been my journey. This is made much easier by having great reference in abundance, and ChatGPT couldn't be more helpful in that respect. As I create new forms on the face, like the teeth, you'll notice things start to pixelate. Assuming I have a general shape defined by that point, I will then apply a remesh modifier and give myself additional voxels to play with, though bear in mind, I'm not dropping the voxel size each time I do this. I keep that a consistent 0.01 voxel size, which provides ample opportunity for detail for what I'm going for. Another trick here is to use the sharp crease brush for some of those wrinkles on his face, as it really helps sell the expression. When it comes to texturing, I stuck with brushing on textures using displacement maps, of which ChatGPT is great at generating. This is also done in combination with scouring the web for free textures. Using the mask tool, I would mask off the areas I didn't want textured, create a texture brush by applying the displacement map to the texture field of the brush, and go to work. The real trick for me was figuring out the brush settings I wanted in order to get the texture to apply properly. This mostly came by way of adjusting the stroke method of the brush. I found a lot of success with the anchored and airbrush methods in conjunction with adjusting the rate, strength, and height properties. When trying to make the texture tile over a part correctly, I hovered my brush over an already textured area, applied some texture, and would then check its registration over the previous texture, adjusting my cursor position accordingly until everything lined up. I'm sure there are more technical ways of doing this, but this workaround was adequate for what I was going for. That wraps up part 1. Initially, I wanted to do this as a single video, but alas, I fried the LCD on my resin printer, and here we are. That said, do keep your eyes peeled for part 2, where I'll be printing, painting, and fabricating the final model. As always, thank you for your support. If you like this kind of content, please subscribe. I'm going to be dropping videos every couple of weeks. Thank you so much. We'll catch you next time.